Welcome, everybody. I'm Beth Shero. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Shero Commerce. Super excited to kick off 2025 with our latest and greatest new live. We're restructuring a little bit and kind of extending the sessions that we were doing in the past, and happy to dive in here today. We're going to be talking about the trends coming up this year and things to keep an eye on. We also want to leave you with some actionable items so that you can actually walk away with things that you can do and implement. It's not just buzz. These are things that are very practical and achievable. So you want to make sure you're leaving here with some inspiration. And a lot of this comes from like what we saw in 2024. We always try to learn and grow at Shero. And last year was a real learning and transformation year for many of us in the e-com space. So many things have changed and continue to evolve very quickly. And for some of our customers, it can almost feel like you're treading water just to keep up with those changes. So we want to constantly continue to educate and make sure that we're making you aware of what's going on in the e-com space and how you can learn and grow from the different things that we're learning from all the great customers that we work with. So today we're going to be talking about a couple of trends, and I'm excited. We're going to have Gavin joining here today. He's our Shopify expert, but he also will be diving into AI for our team and for our customers. And he has some great insights on AI and how he sees it. And, stay for the end so you can see the final wrap up of all the major takeaways that we want you to learn from. And let's get started here. Let's bring Gavin into the conversation. Hey, Gavin, welcome back. How are you doing?
Very well. How are you?
Awesome. So just to let everybody know, and thank you again, everybody, for joining here today. This live was inspired by Gentian's newsletter. If you didn't see it in December, he did release some updates on the trends, and Gavin and I kind of took this and then were inspired by that and then added to his thoughts. So catch that, go back to that and read that if you didn't, because there's a lot of great information there as well. But we have some great topics we're going to be talking about, Gavin. Before we get started, for the new people in the room, I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Hi there. Yeah, thanks, Beth. I'm Gavin McHugh. I'm Director of Shopify Practice here at Shero. I head up the Shopify division really within Shero, and kind of oversee the solutions part of what we really do and work with our customers. So yeah, it's really great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. All right, so let's dive in because we have so much great content. I know, like, you and I chatted a bunch before this, and we really feel like this could be like multiple talks even. So we're gonna have to like contain our excitement and energy on some of these topics. But to start, I think one of the things that stood out is the evolution of the technology and talking about virtual reality, AR, 3D imaging, how you see products in a space on a website, and just really like focusing on how you create these unique customer experiences that make you stand out, and how you storytell, and how the technology has evolved to a point where it's much more approachable. You can test and try things for a lot less money, things of this nature. So we kind of put some insights together. And again, like you and I talked about this, and you can chime in. AR, it's nothing new, right? But like, what are your thoughts? Like, why is it different now in 2025, and what should people be thinking about?
Yeah, great question. I mean, AI has been around for 5 years, 5, 6, 7 years, really, in e-commerce. And I think a lot of brands kind of slept on it back then because the technology was relatively rudimentary. It was relatively expensive, hard to deploy. There wasn't a lot of options. And I think if brands consider revisiting that as an option within their particular niche and space, I think they might find some tools out there that can potentially benefit them to stand out in the crowd, look a little bit different compared to the competitors. And I don't think it's just the sort of standard traditional areas you would find there. It's been around in furniture as an example for a long time. But we're seeing it more in different products and unique products, if people can imagine what their products like to have in their environment. Even though it's not a new, AR's, this year's the year of AR, like last year was, but AR is kind of seen as a little bit old hat. But really, it's came a long way, and it's still, really, really prevalent.
Yeah, totally. And can we bring up the deck? I think, just kind of like to highlight some of these insights, to go, we want to show you some actual examples. So what Gavin's talking about, like this isn't super new. Like I remember I was teaching like animation many, many years ago, and it was like really almost funny and gimmicky, like when you could see something like on your face. And a lot of like e-commerce sites use this for like glasses or clothing or jewelry, right? But like we're gonna show you like an example of like how that's evolved into like creating this unique purchase and experience for the customer. And there's a couple of examples here of tools that we're going to share with you too. Fitting box is one of them. Just kind of seeing and watching this space evolve, I think is like pretty interesting. People are definitely seeing like huge increases in online revenue and driving customers to the store and like engagement. So I think that this will continue to evolve. We have to keep an eye on it, right? Like, and now the apps to connect are like so much easier than they were like in the past. And I just think that it's just approachable, and people are used to it. Like they kind of almost expect it to some degree, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think like even the requirement to get your product into an AI environment the bar was a lot harder. Like in the past, you'd have had to model it out yourself in some particular software, in some particular format. And now you can literally take 2, 3 photographs of that product and then put it into VR like pretty easily with lots of tools. I think that's where sort of Fitting Box, as an example, here comes into play. Like in this example, there's literally 2 or 3 photographs of some glasses, and
Yeah.
you can see that in AR, and they look like they're on somebody's face. They're not sort of they don't look like an AI model. If somebody jumped on a call and they decided to put some glasses on their face, it would look it would look like it would. It's kind of a little bit Snapchatty, but like in a more real world. And them tools are far better than they were 5 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we were talking about the example of how like, so we start with these simple AR experiences that are like very practical and simple, right? And like you brought up a great brand that's like not only thinking about sustainability and the customer experience, but like how do they take technology like this and make a product that's unique for the customer that makes them feel special? And I think the slide maybe got a little messed up, so I'm just trying to get to it. Something weird is going on.
Okay.
But let me reshare. But why don't you talk about it while I bring it up here?
Yeah, so this brand's it's a UK based brand. It's a UK based shoe brand. It's called Vivo Barefoot, and they have a really unique product in that it's called Vivo BioMe. And the idea behind this product is that they would make a shoe that is perfectly matched to your foot using recyclable materials from other Vivo shoes that have been recycled. So it's fully recyclable. But on the fit and AR section of this, traditionally you would have to go to a shop. Like this is how they did it initially. You'd have to go to the store, put your feet under a LiDAR scanner and scan your feet to check the sizes, and then they would make your shoe with what that is. Now, these guys are now developing an app, and this app is going to allow you to do this from home. So you're going to be able to bring up any smartphone that has a LiDAR scanner, take off your socks, scan your feet entirely. It's going to be able to scan you're going to be able to see what that looks like on your feet, and you're going to be able to see what it looks like, and sort of just send over your sizes and what that really looks like in the virtual 3D foot over to be ordered. And I think this is like it's a really, really unique concept. I haven't seen anybody else do this. Obviously, it comes like store only, so it's the full recyclable cycle
Right.
of scalability and I think it's just a really interesting piece, especially in like the e-commerce space.
Yeah, I love it. And, I just think it really stands out about how, because technology is like evolving so quickly, the price point to implement is lower. So you're able to like involve these tools in different ways in your business, right? So this is a great example, really creating that inspiration, and telling the story, making sure that your customers understand it. Like, as you could see from the website that we just had up, like it's very clear what you're getting into. Like it is an experience, right? Like, you don't just go click a button and you get your shoes. Like it's like a process to get your ultimate result, like that you can feel good about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think what we were seeing last year as well, like because the cost of like advertising and everything is becoming so high, the way you tell your story, the visuals you create, using AI maybe in some cases to automate some of those things too, really helps drive this forward. And here's just some quick tools you've probably heard of. I don't know if you want to comment on any other tools. I know we have more tools at the end. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's quite a lot of tools in this space. I think like with advertising, you touched on that point about advertising costs being so high. Everyone trying to get CPAs down to a lower level, and anything that can make a PDP stand out or drive that conversion within that PDP. All these tools will do that depending on the niche and the product type that you're in. But when people are kind of trying to make landing pages convert more and make PDPs convert more, I think there's some of these tools have kind of been a little bit forgotten, and everyone's going for that new shiny object syndrome as opposed to why don't they revert back to actually what we were trying to do 5 years ago that's now been deployed in a better manner for all different niches. So I think it's a kind of forgotten section of development that kind of people shouldn't sit on or sleep on.
Absolutely. So let's dive in further, since I know your love for AI.
Yeah, the collective internal Shero running joke that I'm obsessed, which is true, by the way.
Well, you should be, because it's going to hugely impact what we're doing. So AI and e-commerce, like this is definitely a loaded topic. What do you want to say here?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this for a few hours, and we could probably do a podcast on each one of these. But I think I want to start with not so much like the future of what it looks like, but what we're actually seeing in practice, like today. Yeah. So all of these examples here, so from personalized product recommendations to supply chain optimization to fraud prevention, that the entire development world is building tools around a lot of these things that I mentioned in here. There's a lot more, but we can't go through everything in one go. But these are products that you can find products in every one of these kind of verticals that are available now using AI. And they're kind of becoming a little bit more, these products have probably previously existed, but they're becoming more AI first products. They're built with AI in mind from scratch. And then they're building the logic and the things that these do on top of that. So I think like we're still quite at the early part of the AI e-commerce integration section of where we are. But we're seeing that more and more. There's hardly a SaaS tool or an app or anything that we install across any of our companies that doesn't have some type of AI
100%
element to that. And I think it's going to become more and more. We'll touch on it kind of later on, but I think it's really important that brands kind of really consider when they're looking to solve any problem internally with their organization on anything at all, they should seriously consider what are the AI verticals within that particular problem. I think that's super important. Not just kind of,
and I just want to add too that like, AI can feel a bit gimmicky, or maybe it isn't quite there in some verticals, but like I think being at least aware and educated or testing things is important. So like it's not about like taking anyone's job or minimizing the effort. It's about empowering people and also like just making it easier where it makes sense, and like using your discretion, I guess I would say, to like make those choices for your business. Like, and we're going to talk more with chatbots, for example.
Exactly.
This comes up, but let's continue because there's a lot to dive in here. So AI analytics, let's go a little bit further. So, this is kind of loaded, right? Like, what?
I mean, the kind of the jump to sort of GA4 from GA3 kind of affected a lot of people. People kind of didn't like it as much, 100%. And even though like it has like a lot more kind of advanced features, it kind of offset a lot of people. But at the same time, there was a lot of kind of AI analytics tools. Kind of there's a few that I mentioned a couple of later on, but there's a few tools that kind of operate in that manner, but through predictive data analysis. So like AI is really, if we think of like generally just LLMs generally in AI, they're kind of just the demo of what it actually can do. Like, ChatGPT and Claude are just demos. The real power really lives within the AI itself through the APIs. And these analytics tools are really like delving into the power of those APIs, and they're taking big chunks of data, and they're not just analyzing what's already there. They're predicting what might happen in the future. This can
Exactly.
help. This can
Yeah.
help. This can help the entire organization, from the marketing side to the buying side. I think like this particular area of AI within e-commerce is probably going to have the quickest growth in 2025. I think this is the strongest area. I think it's where it's been lacking the most.
Well,
So
and
yeah,
we know how much people have struggled with Google Analytics, to your point, right? Like it
well,
is
yeah,
hard to get data.
it's hard, and data-driven decisions are what drive companies to beat the competitor. Fundamentally,
Yeah.
it's like it's a competition out there in any vertical for any brand. So I think kind of these tools will give them the edge if they can view their analytics in a way that others can't, and if they can predict, whether that's the buyer or what might happen with traffic in the future or future ad spend. I think it's game changing.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I agree. Yeah, more to come there. And like a lot of these tools too that we're talking about, like I think we'll continue to see this space evolve, right? Like we were laughing last week at our on-site, like, AI is like Ask Jeeves of the internet in the 90s. Like we
Yeah.
have a long ways to go, but it's evolving very quickly.
Yeah.
Just to add to that even further with like how you can forecast and use AI, dynamic pricing for efficiency. So you might know the company Sniffy, which is now Price-In, this slide here. And there's a bunch of other solutions that are maybe like have similar solutions, but like, sorry, really thinking about like how do you use AI to help you promote products, sell products that aren't selling well, change pricing based on the buyer's trends and your competitors, like really helping you get the most out of the data that you can collect. I think it's really fascinating. And I know that you said around like buyers and their choices, they're like highly underrated. And I'd love you to touch on that. And, this kind of plays in that space, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly. I think like I've worked on brand side of e-commerce for 20 years fundamentally, and so I understand that side really well. And there's the kind of forgotten people that aren't discussed within a brand. Everyone talks about marketing, everyone talks about customer service. They get a lot of attention, but in reality, there's two kind of key areas that I think are kind of forgotten, and that is the buyers and the prices, the people who buy the products. So they need predictions of what they need to purchase, sometimes months, if not years in advance, potentially.
yeah,
And then how do we price these products? I think this tool's really useful for brands who sell products that a lot of other brands currently sell. So if they've got like, if it's their individual SKU, it's not going to work too great. But if you're selling SKUs that many online stores sell, and it's really CPA is fundamentally a price point transaction. An
yeah,
app like this using AI to track that price against your competitors and alter your price in real time can help massively.
yeah. And I mean, it does so much more than that. I'm really simplifying it. So if
Of
you want to
course.
learn more about this, like, please let us know. I was talking to Tommy from Price-In, and he was saying like some of their clients have like over 2 million SKUs that they're changing prices dynamically on. It's like pretty wild. It's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll keep moving here. So like personalization, customer experience, personalized shopping, like AI in the search space, and product recommendations probably isn't anything super new, but I would say that it's definitely evolving, and we're seeing that even with market shifts, like with SearchSpring acquiring Klaviyo, and congratulations to Klaviyo on that merger. So, they're going to use like the best of both companies and come together to create a new platform to offer a even better solution to customers to create that personalized shopping experience for search, FAQs, recommending products, all these things, that they're already doing, but like using the best of both. And I know Rebuy has a similar, kind of approach where they even like guarantee or your money back, that you're going to get a certain amount in return, right? So like, it's just really interesting to watch this space, how it's evolving. And, you know, Shopify even has their own solution somewhat that they're kind of starting to tread into this direction, right? I don't know if you want to comment on that.
No, I think that's great. All completely true. I think it's amazing that Clearview and Searchbring's emerging, and they're taking the best of both platforms and making a new platform, which is going to be out in the next 6 to 8 weeks, which is amazing. I think traditionally, kind of the personalization piece has always came from a search company because they have the most data that they store.
Yeah.
And as these search companies kind of get a little bit more AI driven from a data perspective, and this is not just in search, this is literally on cross sells and upsells and everything side related. I think we'll start to see better results within what CPAs look like. Shopify search and discovery is pretty much, it's a very often the go-to for sort of filter and search for a lot of Shopify sites.
Yeah,
it comes included with Shopify, but I also wouldn't be surprised if search and discovery starts to deploy more of the features that we see around some of these more mid to enterprise level personalization engines. So I think that's why search and discovery is not a particularly like an enterprise search and discovery engine, but at the same time I think it's going to start deploying features that we see in some of these apps.
Yeah, right. I agree with that for sure. All right, so the next one up is AI chatbot in the wild. So we had a lot to say about this when we were preparing for this, but I'm going to let you take the lead.
Yeah, I think it's good to talk about things that are actually like in the wild and you can see them be used. This is for a client called Georgia Port, and these guys had a lot of sort of technical documentation that was updated daily. So they had upwards of 1,000 articles that they were writing, around 10 to 20 articles a day, sometimes very sort of in-depth technical articles. And they kind of understood that if somebody had a general query about something that was wrote in these articles, that it would be quite difficult to find the exact piece they were looking for using traditional search. So they came to us, and we came up with a solution to set up an AI chatbot. And the way that this chatbot works is we make a custom RAG. And a RAG is principally just a database that stores data that's actually personalized to them. We created a knowledge base. You can choose your LLM that it uses. So in this particular scenario, I think it uses Claude, but you can choose ChatGPT. You create a brand persona that allows the brand voice to be said. And we joked off camera saying that if the brand persona, if you set a brand persona to be something like Gordon Ramsay, and you tell it to kind of, act like Gordon Ramsay, then the AI chatbot will give the information in the way that Gordon Ramsay would give your information, which isn't probably best practice for customer service, but we just found it funny that could be done. In this particular example as well, it can scrape the website. So if content is added on like per day, it'll scrape the site by itself, find that new data, learn from that new data, and build automations and workflows from what is asked by the individual user through the bot to then give the answer that they need. But not only that, create automations and workflows that happen post that answer. So I think this was a really exciting, this was the first time we kind of did this in the wild for this particular client. And it's been like a really, really solid success. They're always, I've heard really great things that they're really happy with how it's working. I tried it out myself. It works fantastic. So yeah, I think this is a really interesting way to solve quite a complicated problem that would have been a problem, only 6 to 8 months ago.
Yeah, and when talking to the client, they said that it's working so well, and the whole whole company is asking, well, how can I utilize it? Like, what can they do for their department?
Yeah, exactly. Like I think some companies use this internally for like HR. So they'll put all the generalized AI documents and they'll just run the bot internally on their local intranet or on their local devices, and they can queries around, contracts and time off and whatnot around HR. So I think there's so many interesting use cases that this could be used for.
Yeah, and I love Trisha made a comment here. AI is a great tool when it comes to supporting clients. It's not about replacing the human touch, but enhancing it 100%. And we were even talking about this as well, because a lot of chatbots, people like oh, AI, it's like not personalized enough. Like, I think it can be abused where like people don't use it properly and then it's like not a great experience, right? Like
Yeah,
you
exactly.
really have to make sure it's set up properly so that it creates a good experience. And in some cases, I'm not going to call anyone out, but I know that they didn't even realize they were talking to an AI bot like on our
Yeah,
team, and
yeah,
it could happen to anyone. Like you really don't know sometimes. Like,
yeah. That's definitely going to be a thing.
cool. Well, more to come with that. It's very exciting, and it's these unique use cases for our customers that we're trying to solve their challenges. But like, how can you use this in your internal business or outwards to your clients, et cetera? I think it's a great thing to think about and be a little bit inspired. Okay, so let's move to our next trend. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but like talking about eco-friendly. I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon. Younger generations really think about sustainability and want to buy from brands that think about it and actually practice it. So, like, how can we do this? Like, it's not just for like big brands. I think it can be really simple in some cases. Like, I even think about it in our own office. Like I make sure that we recycle. I want to make sure that we're, using earth-friendly cleaning products, things like that, like that anybody could do when you think about it at the end of the day. But there are also like a lot of unique cases where people are changing their return policies to minimize like the environmental impact. And in some cases, like it's actually easier for the customer and then they feel good that it was easier for them, but like also it felt good to like do something good for the environment. There's like a lot of different ways to approach this that I think sometimes get missed because it can be somewhat simple sometimes.
Yeah,
But I know you also have some really great apps that you wanted to share for Shopify clients that are thinking about this but aren't sure like how to start, right? Or maybe they use a tool and it's not working as well as they'd like. So I'd love your thoughts on sustainability and being eco-friendly as an e-commerce merchant. Like, what we're doing does impact the world that we live in, right? So I think it is important.
yeah. I think like you've hit the nail on the head really, and kind of said everything I was thinking. But from the eco-friendly part of e-commerce isn't going away. It's actually growing. More people are more self-conscious about what the products are from, where they're sourced, how the company operates, are they carbon neutral. And I wanted just to touch on a few tools that kind of, these are just apps that are on the Shopify store. Many people will have potentially used these tools, but I think if more Shopify stores look at some of these apps and what they're actually and what the sustainability elements that they're helping with, there's a few here that basically offset carbon against delivery.
Yeah.
Shopify Planet's very well known, EcoCart's very well known, but there's also some apps there that connect to sustainable and ethical suppliers, which I think it no longer is it kind of the ethical product is no longer the upsell or the cross sell. It's really the product that really matters in the self that it's becoming the actual main product and not the cross sell and the upsell across certain brands. They're just starting out with that out from the start, and I just
Yeah.
think it is a really interesting space. So yeah, I think that some of these apps could probably help some brands kind of do their bit to help be more sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's so many other tools that we aren't naming here, but these are just a few to highlight. So again, if you have questions about this, please follow up. Or if we're missing anything as we go along, like chime in. It's hard to connect, like, and state every trend that's going on, but like we want to make the main highlights. So the next one, before I bring it up, I just wanted to like kind of summarize my thoughts of why I thought it was an important trend to talk about. So subscriptions, like again, this is something that people have been doing for quite some time. Why I think it's important in 2025 is it's more about creating that community connection with your customer, memberships, loyalty, subscription, really kind of joining all of this. And maybe it's not subscription that's the answer for your brand, but like, how do you elevate the experience for your customer so that they can feel connected with you and want to like talk about your brand more, and that they feel like they get some sort of reward or special perk if they're a more frequent purchaser. I think getting people connected really adds a lot of value and helps you collect more data so you can do better at marketing, improving your product, customer service. Like there's just so many benefits. And I think there's a lot of these little big pieces, I would call them, that kind of connect to create these experiences. And depending on your brand, kind of affects how you would approach this. But I definitely know this is going to be like a hard, strong thing that people need to really think heavily about to do it properly. And I know you have a lot of thoughts about this as well.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed a lot of them thoughts perfectly, and I think you're absolutely right. It's about building that community. We touched earlier about the high CPA costs within marketing channels. I think that's a really key feature in the sense of what I'm kind of seeing when I'm speaking to brands and clients around what they're looking to do. Pretty much in every vertical, they're looking to find a product that they sell that they can put into a subscription model. So in verticals that would have never normally been on a subscription, that could be, they're trying to get into that vertical because fundamentally the cost per acquisition is going to drop because the brand can spend more to acquire that customer. But when they're a customer, they're going to be there, their LTV is going to be higher. And literally in every single vertical we're seeing this happen. I mean, it sort of started happening about 2 years ago, really, but like now we're kind of like in the eye of the storm, where it's literally every conversation I'm having with a brand in any product, they're asking how, what our suggestions are around subscription products. And I think, so I think that's the main factors around what it is.
Yeah, I would also add to it's again going back to the technology. It's evolved so much. Like Recharge is a big subscription service we work with for our customers, and they have like evolved so dramatically even in the past year of how they're providing better solutions for our customers to manage their subscriptions, and it just makes it easier, and it makes it more flexible, right? Like and I know you have a couple of use cases you wanted to talk about. I can bring up Valentine, for example.
I think 2 years ago the tech was a little bit catching up, and if we think of like PDPs generally, PDPs massively haven't changed in the last 15 years for non-subscription PDPs. There's some images, there's a description, there's a price, there's maybe an offer. And I think when you now see PDPs with subscription offers, there's a lot of kind of options that you can kind of deliver within what they look like. This is an example of a site that we launched a couple of months back now, but you can see kind of like how visually it looks like much more insightful, much more appealing than kind of just a standard add to cart, whilst trying to really encourage the user to kind of get into the subscription mode, look at what that looks like, kind of demonstrate it off size. And you can see how we can kind of really kind of emphasize how strong a PDP can look based on a subscription model. Actually,
I love that. It's like really telling like why you want to buy from them, because anybody could buy coffee from anywhere, right? Like,
exactly. Like there's plenty of subscription coffee brands out there, but it's kind of it gives you the ability to stand out a little bit more with how you portray your subscriptions alongside your competitor. And I think like that's definitely becoming a thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, there are also a lot of other businesses doing subscriptions in like the less traditional way, like we're working with Salem Church products, and they're selling like media creative in a subscription, which is like a totally different model. And it really works for them and their customers. They can like download graphics or audio or, video for a presentation that they're giving. So I think this space will continue to evolve because it does add a lot of value. And for any business, obviously recurring revenue is always helpful, right? Like guaranteed revenue helps us stay afloat for sure. So totally. Okay, so then we're shifting to our final topic. You are our Shopify expert in the room. Shopify update. What do you think of the winter editions? What do you got to say?
I mean, it was called boring editions for anyone who doesn't know, and it was anything but boring. I think we kind of handled. They kind of they dropped a lot of features that kind of been asked for by the development community. They really listened to us developers and kind of they deployed 150 plus features that, to be fair, came out 6 weeks ago and we're still testing through those new features. So it's like really exciting. I think as well, when you see, I mean, Shopify's growth is phenomenal. Black Friday was up to $11.5 billion. They were 24% increased on the previous year, which is like nobody in this space is even coming close. They're going heavy, you know, on enterprise features. Last year was probably a little bit more B2B features, but they're still coming out. And I think some of the key takeaways from like the boring editions is super packed with. I'd suggest anyone go and check it out. But like it's super packed. But there's a few areas that I think are kind of like a few highlights of that editions that kind of are good. I think like the bulk editing is something that some of our clients were asking for, and now we can now easily deploy that so they can bulk update products and bulk update inventory. There's some better analytics, kind of probably capitalizing a little bit on the GL4 ball being dropped to a degree.
100%.
Checkout's been improved vastly. Even what you can edit in checkout's been improved vastly.
Yep.
And we talked earlier about a new feature that we seen literally this morning about AI theme development, and you can even now edit through prompts themes. So I think that we're going to see a lot of features deployed around AI within Shopify. I'm glad that they didn't try to do it in this winter's editions. They kind of concentrated on the basics.
Yes. I think a lot of people needed that, like that they were being heard and like kind of refining what, you know, the basics and for sure.
And like they're not like basics in the sense, it's just as their kind of clientele is a little bit more upstream. They require different features, so they have to build that out. And it's basics at certain levels of the market and different niches within the market. So they weren't like forgetting what it was. It was just they were growing so quickly. So to drop they dropped 150 features in 4 weeks. It's pretty phenomenal.
It's insane.
So, So amazing.
Yeah, and I think just to add a little bit more to give a little more like color, I think, you know, because a year ago even, the conversations we were having with customers were very different. The ability for them to go up market into enterprise, they are still tackling some of the, let's call them blockers to, you know, get some of those customers, but a lot of those blockers have been removed. Like we were working on an opportunity that had, just in December, Gavin, you and I, where they had a lot of SKUs and options, and like before like December, that would have been like a no-go, right?
Yeah, variant increase was a big one. Definitely everyone had asked for that for a while. Option increases coming. So yeah, like they're absolutely listening to the community, and like some of the features that they're dropping are like super futuristic, but some of the features that they're dropping are really kind of rethinking how we can deliver things that we've already been doing for years. So
I just think it's super interesting to watch and see. And you know, again, a year ago, some of the clients we were talking to, it would have just been like impossible to have the conversation because the technology wasn't quite there. But it's evolved tremendously even in the past year. So kudos to them to driving that forward. You know, excited to see what happens this coming year. I've never seen a SaaS platform move so quickly. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here, and again, if we did miss anything, please let us know. We want to go through some quick takeaways, so you have some like real things to think about. Kick us off, Gavin.
Okay, I'll kick you off. Yeah, so these are some of the key takeaways I think for 2025, and there's a lot more, but I think brands considering AI first solutions to their problems is definitely going to be a thing. What is the AI way to do this particular problem? That could be customer service, that could be buying. So the outcome is going to really matter, and that's the way that really brands are going to outpace the competitors is by taking that approach, and that's definitely going to happen, and we're seeing that. Shopify's expansion pretty much across every market, particularly in enterprise, is kind of really key. Like we're speaking to a lot more enterprise clients than ever, which is amazing. Clients that potentially wouldn't have even considered Shopify, 12 to 18 months ago, are now heavily wanting conversations around that. That is amazing to see. It's delivering the results. The sustainable part, we touched on that earlier around, the sustainability. I think it's to be an ethical brand. It isn't that you sell ethical products. It's just that you operate in a sustainable, ethical manner.
Yeah.
And I think like just care. Just like this isn't about just dumping product and selling it. I think it's definitely about the brand definitely at least having the perception that they care, but really the best practice is to care. What else so we got the seamless, so the purchase, the kind of linking that we're seeing between, specifically like when you look at TikTok as an example, the seamless kind of purchasing between social. TikTok shops absolutely like blew up in the last 18 months. We know this, but how that intrinsically links to platforms like Shopify, where your orders are placed in Shopify and then it goes through your normal standard 3PL way of shipping goods, is only going to grow. I don't think TikTok's getting banned in this. I don't think TikTok's getting banned in the States.
Hot topic.
I think someone will. It might be forced to sell, but it definitely won't be banned, I don't feel. And I think one of the big areas, and again, we touched on this earlier, about the forgotten people within a brand, for me, are often the buyers, right? And I think the buyers are like have some, especially within big brands that are buying tens of millions of dollars of products on an annual, monthly basis, really need to know what they should and shouldn't be buying. So predictive inventory intelligence is going to be really, really, really big this year. It's already kind of there, but some of the products in the past have been a little bit behind what was required. But now we're seeing like a big burst in people asking for this type of thing. So these things are really exciting. So
yeah, I love that. Couple of things to add. I love that you brought up the human aspect of it, because at the end of the day, like, no business can like it's you need people that like do a good job to run your business. Like it just, we're not even at that point yet. So like the people aspect, like we are working with people, is so important to remember. And also like going back to the market expansion, Shopify is evolving how they also allow you to sell in different markets, right? Like this is kind of a challenging thing for many brands that sell, in the UK, in different countries in Europe, in Asia. Like this has evolved a lot this year too, and I think will continue to evolve.
Payouts on that point, Beth. Payouts within different bank accounts between different regions. So a US bank account and let's say hypothetically a UK bank account, up until now wasn't necessarily possible. So the brand operates in two regions. It wants payouts in two different bank accounts. Right now, this is all available. You can get your payouts for your UK site in the UK. You can get your payouts in the US site in the US in your dollars. So I think it's these types of approaches that are really sort of accelerating that part. But I think that's
cool. And that's like a little thing that you probably don't really think about until you start really digging into the weeds, and then you're totally blocked by that one thing, right?
Exactly.
the what like the curveball moments.
Especially at enterprise level, they operate like in different vicinities. They have they have different company setups all over the world, and that's a really big blocker for a lot of real enterprise brands. And now it's been fixed, which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see a lot more there. And also just to add on the social commerce, like obviously the YouTube integration was like a huge win for many of our customers as well. And like they're only going to keep integrating with social. It's just the nature of the world we live in, so keep an eye on those spaces. And I hope you have some clear action items. We showed a lot of different tools, talked about a lot of different things. Again, if you think we missed something or have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. So feel free to reach out, and really excited. Like it's a lot of things are evolving in a good way. And like, we just have to continue to evolve and learn and push the limits. And I really appreciate your input, Kevin. You bring in a different perspective, and it's fresh, it's real. And I appreciate your time here today. Any closing remarks before we wrap up?
No, I really appreciate you, and it was a great chat. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for Gavin for joining. Again, this was inspired by Gentian's newsletter. So please feel free to check that out. He'll be posting a new newsletter monthly, so you can get all of your latest e-com information from his newsletter on LinkedIn currently. So please feel free to check that out and use the QR code. And then just to wrap up here, we've covered so much. So thank you everybody for joining and hanging in here with us. I did want to wrap up with a couple of updates about Shero. So we were just at NRF last week and we had our company on site. So much has already happened this year, and it was super exciting to see everybody. We were supported by a couple of our partners. Klaviyo came actually to Red Hook, which was a pleasure for them to be here. We were able to connect with Shopify and BigCommerce, so thank you for them for joining. So it was a really great event, and really helped us collaborate and kick off the year and feel super strong. And I was just so grateful that everybody was able that we could bring here on site, could participate and learn from each other, and kind of just build that rapport in the virtual world. It can be challenging, and we don't always get to sit in one room. So super great there. And then just a few things to finalize here. February 5th, I will be at Smart Commerce in Helsinki. So hopefully I can meet up with some people in Helsinki. I'm super excited about that. I'll be giving a keynote. So more to come on that. We'll be talking a little bit about what's going on in the Nordics. But I think that's a wrap. And thank you everybody for hanging in. I hope you have some good takeaways, something to think about, a little bit of inspiration. And as always, I'm Beth Shero. Always be learning.